Okay, here we go. Once past the tiny village of Trediac, we joined an ever smaller single-track road that took us over the summit of a testing climb. Through the rain, you could just make out a lake in the valley below, which was where our lunch stop overlooking the Roman aqueduct of Ansignon was located. Having distanced the others, I careered downhill until I saw a sign for the aqueduct. It looked worth a pop, so I duly defied the orders of my Garmin GPS. At the end of a heavily potholed track, I came to a makeshift car park in a clearing. It contained one car, beside which a balding man with spectacles was taking a leak. Not wishing to intrude upon his moment, after all, there's an unwritten rule amongst TV cameramen to avoid filming cyclists answering a call of nature. I averted my gaze, whipped out my map, and contemplated the aqueduct. I saw that our lunch spot was in fact on the other side of the valley, beyond the town of Ansignon, and on a lay-by beside the road overlooking the fine structure. A door slammed and the engine started. The man was headed for the exit when he stopped and wound down his window. "Bonjour," he said. "Could I help you? You are perhaps lost." "Don't worry, I'm fine. Just on a bike ride and I thought I'd take a look at the aqueduct," I replied. "Sorry, you caught me in an embarrassing moment. I was just taking a leak." "Oh really? I had no idea." "I assure you, I didn't come here especially to have a pee," he assured me. "I'm a local amateur historian and this aqueduct fascinates me. Fascinates me." "It is rather magnificent," I admitted, before adding once again that this seemed to be his way of speaking. Magnificent. "Perhaps you'd like to hear some of my theories," he said in a forthright manner that suggested I had very little choice in the matter, before promptly turning off the ignition. Beads of sweat, or perhaps rain, trickled down his pink forehead and gathered in the bushy eyebrows above his beady eyes. "Let me introduce myself. I am the Baron de Sinclair. Now let me ask you a question. What is the most famous picture in the world? In the whole world?" I hesitated a while. "The Mona Lisa?" His smile clearly indicated that I answered correctly. "And what is located behind the left shoulder of La Joconde?" I'm not sure. A river?" "Close. An aqueduct," he said with pride, while leaning out of the window of his car. "To be more precise, this aqueduct." He proceeded to explain just why the aqueduct in Da Vinci's masterpiece was not, per the traditional view, that of Val di Chiana near Arezzo, but instead the aqueduct of Ansignon. His explanations seemed to involve a series of riddles, anagrams, and numerical sequences. At one point he was even talking about the 13 moon cycles in a year, representing the number of small arches of the aqueduct. He prattled on for so long that I was worried he may need to get out for another pee. If so, I'd probably join him. If you arrange the letters that make up Mona Lisa in a different order, you get mois allons, months in the year. And I'm convinced Da Vinci meant this as a sign, he said. "You're certainly a man after Dan Brown's heart," I said, finally getting in a word edgewise. "I'm worse than Dan Brown," he cackled. "I'm a total crackpot." A crackpot. This clearly being the case, I decided it was time to take my leave. Besides, I was feeling rather peckish and the others would be wondering where I'd got to. "Look, I won't keep you any longer," he said, perhaps sensing my unease. "But you must go on my website." He handed me a business card. "Your French is very good for a German. What is your name and what do you do?" "I'm actually English, but thanks. I'm a writer of sorts. My name is Felix, and you are, monsieur? Just call me the Baron." "I'm sorry, your accent sounded Germanic. Perhaps it's because you are so tall and have a bike. Lots of Germans come here to cycle. It's great you are a journalist. These issues need to be written about. But don't steal any of my ideas. I have enough to make Dan Brown tremble. Tremble, I say." "You know, I've done some writing for the local paper myself before, but thankfully the arrival of Camilla and Ted, who had also ventured off piece, saved me from hearing about the delights of the Ansignon Gazette." We won't do any more because you can read them. I don't want to ruin the surprise. And there are much better ones than those. In fact, all the really good humour I've kept back. And some of the... Actually, no, I'm being very honest here. I didn't delve into any of the historical aspects, the Hannibal history, and also the kind of history of cycling, which is a big passion for me. So that is what you have to look forward to. And there wasn't much food there apart from merguez mentioned, and so you've got that to look forward to. But before I stop, I'd like to say a few thank yous. Thank you, of course, to Henry, my editor, who's back there in the white shirt. And to Charlie, who got the ball rolling by approaching me in the first place. Charlie's my editor. There is one person here who is actually a character in the book. There's lots of minor characters in the book. For example, Rowan, who came on some training rides with me. And Gav's gone, but there are people here who came on some training rides with me. But Terry, here he is. So this chap here, this was if there was no mention of Terry in those previous readings, that was because I wanted to keep the very best thing about this book back, so that you have something to look forward to. Terry was my roommate. Terry is the father of Dylan, who's one of the main guys who organises this, the Hannibal tour. Saying that I was lumbered with Terry would be a gross misrepresentation of what happened, because it was a friendship that flourished through a lack of sleep on my part. But nevertheless, we really grew on one another, and we have some very happy memories. And I hope that you see this as a joke as well as something to treasure. Also, very quickly, I have to thank my sister, who's here, Francesca, because this book, the words and the photos are mine, but the illustrations and the map are my sister's, and they're extremely good. Each chapter has a map that shows you, kind of gives you a taste of what's to come. And there's a very lovely 2-page, huge map at the beginning, with elephants and waxing strip and a toe, and it's quite marvellous. And look, and I'm not just saying this, we could all be here today to celebrate the launch of Francesca's illustrations with some words on the side by me. And so thank you very much, Jess, because and then everyone else who is worth thanking, I do thank very much in the acknowledgements, which you will get to when you've read the 360 pages before. Some people were surprised when I said it was that long, but you won't be able to put it down. And when you get to the end, don't look now, but there is a very interesting caricature at the end of page 360. Something to look forward to. But, thank you very much.